Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developreneurs, where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
Hey, John Sonmez here. Just want to take a second to tell you about a tool that I am really excited about. I've recently switched all of my email marketing over to a tool called Drip, and I couldn't be happier. I created a course, an email course, about how to create a blog that boosts your career, and so far I've gotten a ton of signups from it, way more than I expected. Not only that, but the engagement level of the people that are signing up is huge, and then at the end of the course, I'm getting big conversion rates, which is something that I really need in order to sell my products, and this is something that's extremely helpful to any entrepreneur, EntreProgrammer out there. The reason why Drip works so well is because it's specifically built for bootstrappers. It's email marketing for bootstrappers, and this is really why I switched over and why I'm finding it so effective. If you want to get started with Drip, you can get started today. Just go to getdrip.com/EntreProgrammers. Once again, that's getdrip.com/EntreProgrammers. And when you sign up, you can get an email mini course created for you. They'll actually do this for you. So if you're not sure how to do this, if you have a few blog posts or an ebook, they can get that started for you, which makes it super simple, and you can start getting those benefits today and not tomorrow. They also have all the kind of marketing automation rules that you would want, tagging, much better than a lot of the other major automation players, and they integrate with things like Stripe, PayPal, Leadpages, Chargeify, Gumroad, tons of great features in there. So I highly recommend that you check it out. Go to getdrip.com/EntreProgrammers. Take care.
This episode of the EntreProgrammers is brought to you in part by the Telerik platform at telerik.com/platform. The Telerik platform allows developers to build, connect, test, and deploy cross-platform mobile applications using nearly any approach, web, hybrid, or native. With tools like the App Builder to create mobile apps with HTML and JavaScript, control suites for Windows, Android, and iOS, and powerful management tools like Telerik Analytics and App Manager, you're sure to find what you need. With powerful tools of the Telerik platform, the UI tools, and so much more that it provides, you will be able to create outstanding user experiences. So check it out and try the Telerik platform today at telerik.com/platform.
We're live.
All right.
No way.
Yes, way.
So I'm just going to start out because last time when we wrapped up the mastermind, I said I had this genius idea, and I told you guys about it on the mailing list. But I figure that if people are listening and we don't talk about it, we might get some angry emails. So
that's true. Now people are going to be really confused because they were already expressing confusion about whether like the episodes. So now they're going to be like, wait a minute, is this the first episode, or is this a to be continued? So
welcome to episode number 1.
Anyway, so the idea was, and it kind of comes from here. I'll show you. I have one right here. I haven't actually opened this yet, but I get these every month, and they have all kinds of neat junk in them.
So open it right now for us. Come on. Unboxing.
I don't have a knife on me.
Oh, wait a minute. I just figured out what my domain is going to sell now.
Okay, I got it open. Ready?
Something you want to talk about on the air, John.
All right.
So it's got a T-shirt in it.
And this is from lootcrate.com?
Lootcrate.com, yep.
Okay. Oh, nice. Is
What?
that Transformers?
Yeah,
Yes,
I couldn't quite
believe
see
so.
all of that. It was a little too close to the camera. Nice.
Oh, nice. You know what that reminds me of? Is the old BattleTech. Did you guys ever play BattleTech?
Yeah.
As a board game?
Oh, yeah.
Look like the old BattleTech drawings. That's cool.
Nice.
Yep. And this looks
Little,
like
Voltron,
an old NES cartridge. So this is like, I think they're socks. I'm not sure.
too.
But anyway, so
Nintendo
it
socks.
looks like the old NES cartridge. And
Okay.
I'll just pull it out. Oh, It is a cartridge.
Hey,
It doesn't do anything, but it's a cartridge.
Oh, well.
What's it for?
I don't know.
All right, so now that we've wasted a whole lot of listener time and nobody has any idea what your idea is.
I'm sure they're smart enough to figure it out by now.
Glasses.
Come on.
Right. So, so the idea is to do this kind of thing
man.
for programmers. Since I have a few programmers
What
who
is
listen to my
this
shows.
kind of thing?
So I want to basically put together a box that has programmer stuff in it. I'm not sure if I can do like all the cool retro geek stuff on here.
Right.
You know, because they have deals with all the providers. I've got a bunch of other stuff in here, so. Boy, that brings back memories, right? The Alien game, Alien Invasion. Anyway, so I've talked to a lot of people. I asked around on Ruby Rogue's Parlay. I tweeted out. I asked a bunch of people what they wanted. The overwhelming response was books. I got kind of. I think about half the people were excited about T-shirts and the other half weren't. But ultimately, I was asking, what kind of swag do you like at the conference? And so I think there are a certain number of people that just aren't excited about the idea of getting a T-shirt with some logo on it. But you know, if you could give them a T-shirt like this that has like Ruby stuff or JavaScript stuff on it, I think they'd probably be a little more excited about it because it's fun and cool, and you know, you're not a walking commercial.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, except if the shirt had like 4 cool guys floating heads on it, then that would be cool, you know.
Yeah, I think so. We've sold Ruby Rogues and JavaScript Jabber T-shirts, and I think people are a little more excited about that mainly because it's, hey, you know, I listened to the show, I like the show, and I'm going to show off that I sent money to those guys, which we don't make a whole lot off of the T-shirts, to be honest. But anyway, so I've kind of priced around. I've got a pretty good idea of what it would cost to put together a box with both a T-shirt and a book in it, and then I'm pretty sure that I can get some other like desk tchotchkes or get discount codes for services and things like that. Most of the book publishers are pretty open to the idea. I've reached out to most of the major tech book publishers. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that.
Check real quick. What kind of discounts could you get on the books? Just like, what would your price? Any idea what your cost would be?
So it depends on the book. For the smaller books, you know, I kind of threw a number out there. I don't know if I want to give it away because I don't know if I want to put them in a position where it's like, oh, you can sell bulk books for whatever. But it's a significant discount on what they sell for on like Amazon and stuff. In most cases,
so like
it
a
was
wholesale cost, kind of.
Yeah, in most cases it was less than a third.
Nice, that's good.
So the bigger books, though, it's a little harder to get down to that number that allows me to ship out a whole bunch of them and make any profit on them if I'm charging the same price per box. So I'm trying to figure that out. The issue is that for both a book and a T-shirt, my costs come to somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 to $30. And I don't know if that's too much to ask for a box full of stuff. You know, because I have to charge above that just to make make it worth my time. So I'm still figuring that out. I'm halfway tempted to do like offer different offerings, so you can get a shirt and the extras in a box. You can get the book and the extras in the box, and then you can get a shirt and a book and the extras in a box, and then people can kind of pick and choose the ones that they want.
So this, I love this idea, by the way. I don't think $35 is too much, and I can actually help you with this. I just realized. Just go into Google like incognito window and type in developer GIFs, or like software developer GIFs or programmer GIFs, and I don't hit number 1, but I'm like on the like number 3 to for 4 for most of those queries, and so I could totally put that on there for you, and help you sell those things. But and the reason why I bring that up is not just because of the traffic you might get from that, but I didn't realize that people are searching for this search term. Around Christmas time, my website gets a ton of hits on that search term because it's so hard to buy programmers gifts, right? Everyone goes to ThinkGeek, and that's not programmer specific, right? So if you have something that's totally programmer specific, and every year I do a gift roundup for programmers and post it, and I can't find very many programmer specific gifts, but if you are, this is a programmer specific gift, there's a ton of people that are looking for it. And the thing is, like with software developers, like the hardest thing, because I got emails from non-technical people about my list basically saying, my husband buys whatever he wants. He buys all the tech gadgets. What the heck do I get him? Like, I can't buy him an SSD because he'll be like, this is the wrong one, or
right.
So basically, like there's a lot of spouses that are desperate to find a good,
including my wife. She's constantly complaining about, what do I buy you? I can't get you anything because it's always going to be the wrong thing.
So a curated box of stuff would be, I think, I mean, you're probably thinking about the programmer audience that, I'd like to subscribe and get this cool thing, but the spouses, they're going to go nuts for this because this is like, and it needs to be expensive, right? This is the problem with buying a gift is it's like, I know when my wife buys me a gift, she's like, well, I don't want to buy like like a $15 thing. So you want something that's a couple $100 or something like that. It's a 6-month or 12-month subscription. You can basically vary the price ranges. Yeah, I think this could be stellar.
Yeah, I think where I'm looking at going is you can kind of get the basic level that just gets you like the book and the goodies, and then maybe the next level is the book and the T-shirt and the goodies, and then I'll have like a super pack, and that's like a full-on, like this is the pack that I want to send you, but if you can't afford it, then I understand you're getting the other deal. And so, for example, you have an Arduino in here. You also, I think, have Raspberry Pi on your list. And so I could pack in, okay, here's how you do the Ruby Raspberry Pi book. You get a Raspberry Pi with all of the stuff that you need, so it comes with the SD card that has the operating system on it and all of the other, the power supply and the stuff that you don't get in the basic kit. And then, you get a T-shirt that has some cool Raspberry Pi-ish logo on it or, something like that. And, so you get the whole package that kind of, puts it all together for you, and then you get, and maybe that's $50 or $100. Yep. And the T-shirt and book is $50, and then just the book or just the T-shirt's like $30.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, the logistics is the difficult part with this, right? But if you can solve the logistics problem, which you're pretty good at hiring out help, so and I think you can probably do that. If you could do that, then I think this could be. I mean, it really could be pretty big. Like it's something that would spread virally too, because everyone is familiar with this. I can imagine it being spread by word of mouth quite a bit. So.
Yeah, the other question I have that I'm thinking about with this, it's funny because like these kinds of details, I kind of hesitate to talk about publicly, but there are a few other people who could do this, but I'm pretty well connected in Ruby and JavaScript at least, and so I don't have as many barriers to doing this as other folks. But one thing that I'm curious about is for some of these services, like New Relic or I can list a whole bunch of them, right? Slack, Screen Hero, whatever.
Now owned by Slack.
Yes. Code School, now owned by Pluralsight. Anyway, I could go to these services and basically say, look, if you give me a discount code, I'll put it in the box, but then I want an affiliate commission on people who sign up or something like that. Yeah. And so they send me a stack of coupons that come in, and then I just put one in each box, along with some stickers and other junk that kind of, give people that, oh, I got this cool brand thing going or whatever.
You'll also be able to get a lot of free product, I imagine. Yeah. I mean, just looking at Tim Ferriss did when he did his 4-hour cookbook for our chef.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, we love this topic, don't we, Derek?
I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Anyway, he got tons, like millions of dollars of free product, I think it was. I might be exaggerating, but I thought it was millions to give away, and because of the promotion of the thing. So I mean,
well, he started something similar to what you're talking about, Chuck. I don't remember the name of the website, but he's got this thing where you go pay X dollars a month, and he sends you these random products that people send to him for this purpose.
Okay, now his is the premium version. If I remember correctly, it's like $5,000 or something. It's like crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculously expensive.
Let me see.
He's got some really dang cool stuff in those boxes that he sends out.
Every 3 months, Tim will send you a package of his objects and ideas he's obsessed with. Buy a subscription, $100 per package. New package every 3 months. So I think that's the low-end one, but I think he has a high-end one as well.
Yeah, I thought he did too.
He actually shipped himself in the box.
Right.
There's only one at a time. You can only have one subscriber at a time.
Yeah. So I'm going to put up a landing page and drive people to it and just say, look, I'm putting together the first box. If you want to know when it's available, then, enter your email address. And then I'll go and work out, the details for the first box and probably start working on the details for the second box. But I'll tell you that the book publishers especially, I got varying responses from really, really excited to we thought about doing this ourselves but don't have the reach.
Right.
So I think for them, they're always looking to find a new way to get out there because, they put it in Amazon and that's tapped out. And they put it out there for other things. They hope that their authors are going to promote it, but to have it show up on somebody's shelf at work or something like that just adds a whole bunch of credibility to it.
Yep.
So I honestly think that that's a slam dunk, and I've got a couple of T-shirt guys that I can work with to get awesome designs together. So.
Nice. The biggest thing too is just the curation of it, right? If you can do a good job, I mean, it'll sell regardless, but you'll get long-term people if you can do curated, because that's the number one thing I struggle with now in my life is I need curated content. I've got an Amazon wish list with 500 books on it, right? And those are somewhat curated because I don't just put anything on there. I only put the stuff someone's recommended, but that needs to be curated further. Like there's like a million different tools and blog posts and things that I need to look at, but I really just need, in a lot of areas of my life, someone to just curate this and say, look, no, this is what's important. This is the best plugin. This is the best whatever.
Yeah.
And I totally would pay for that service. And I think a lot of people are in that situation with all the data we have today, especially programmers. Like, what should I read? What should I get? Just send it to me. So
yeah. And I think for some of them, they'd be like the canonical reference book for Ruby. Right. But I'd like to throw like some fun ones in there, at least 4 months out of the year. So that's where the Arduino or the Raspberry Pi or whatever would come in. And I want to make sure that at least 1 or 2 of them are like clean code or soft skills or something, so that it's it's something that's more general knowledge that's going to help your career or help your practice, even though it's not specifically talking about Ruby or JavaScript or whatever.
Yeah.
So then anyway, that's the idea. I'm glad I'm getting affirmation on this.
No, this is a brilliant idea. I was somebody that I knew 4 or 5 years ago did something similar, but it wasn't specific to programmers. It was more just the general geek crowd. And I ended up getting my first Arduino, a Darth Vader alarm clock, and a William Shatner CD. It was awesome. But the way this person set it up, there was 1 item per month that you would get basically, and I think I did like a $50 a month one subscription for that. No, it was $25. I don't remember. It was somewhere around the same range that you're talking about. Anyways, I did a lower end thing, but I don't think that person continued it for very long because they didn't have a very big audience to begin with. And it was really hard for this person to grow that kind of business without a big audience.
Oh, so let's not waste this at all, right? Okay, so you need to come up with a domain name or the URL that we're going to talk about right now, and then you can produce it afterwards. But throw up a landing page like right now.
I already have it.
Oh, you do?
Okay.
Yes. So I just need to put the landing page on it, but I have Ruby Box Club, JavaScript Box Club, iOS Box Club, Angular Box Club.
You need to get Dev Box Club.
I do. I
Okay.
should pick that up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
hover.
I'm not sure if you should niche down on this one or not. I'm not sure.
I would start with the more generic Dev
Start
Box
broader.
Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my main feedback on this whole idea is I like it a lot too, but it's getting complicated really fast.
Right.
Yes.
And so I would say keep it as simple as you possibly can. Do a trial run of this with 25 boxes. This is great for building buzz too.
Right.
It's you have real scarcity. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not selling downloads. You're selling there's only 25 of these boxes and they're sitting here and I'm looking at them and I want them out of my living room.
Right.
Pack them yourself. Do everything yourself. Keep it as simple as you can. One price tier.
Right.
And I think that I agree. Starting at broad would be the way to go, and then niching down, because otherwise you're gonna start to get into a lot of permutations of stuff, and if you have a really cool drop shipping facility that can handle all that for you, then you can get fancy. But right now, it's gonna get out of hand.
That's really interesting because, so for one thing, I'm kind of reacting a little bit to going general, but it would be easier, I think, initially to do that, just because, I can pull stuff together. The other thing is then I can send out all right, we're going to do a Ruby month, and then we're going to do an Erlang month, and then we're going to do another general month, and then another general month, and then so people can kind of get a variety of stuff.
And that's a brilliant advertising scheme right there, because you can not only tell people that you're getting all these cool gifts, but you can tell people that they are going to improve their own career because you're going to be introducing them to new and varied languages in fun and interesting ways.
Right.
So here's what I would do right now is set up the landing page, right? Do a launch page to collect emails, because you might as well collect them now.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's going to prove to you whether or not people will buy it. And I agree with Josh, starting with 25 or so.
25 boxes.
Right.
But on the landing page, this is what I would do. Collect the email address and then also put down a radio box list and say, would you prefer a general dev one that's going to be not language specific, or that will be just general programmer? Would you prefer Ruby, JavaScript? List out the main ones you're considering and just see, because it might be that we're guessing. I'm guessing that the general will be more popular, but if you get everyone's no, we want JavaScript stuff, then do that.
Yeah, my bet honestly would be that you're going to get such a diverse mix in the answer that you have no choice but to do a general.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is let's say that it goes totally bananas, right?
Right.
And so I get thousands of people filling out that form. Well, if I get enough people saying that they're interested in the JavaScript one, then I can go ahead and do it when I get around to it.
True.
Right.
And so I can just go filter those, segment my list that way, and say, okay, well, you said you were interested in the JavaScript one, so I'm putting one together, and we're going to do the same thing with 25 boxes, blah, 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 and see how that goes.
Here's a minor variation on what John suggested. Don't do it on the landing page. Do it in an email that comes immediately after they sign up, and then just have them click the one they're most interested in, and then you tag them in whatever software you're using. So
yeah, that makes good sense. Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you always want one trick that you can do, if you want an address, a physical address, is to ask for that on the second page. So you're at least you're always getting the lead. You always want to get the easiest capture first, and then you can ask them for more information in a follow-up.
Yep.
See how far they go. Just
so
keep
I picked up Dev Box Club and Developer Box Club.
Street address. Next page. City. Next page.
Could I have your social security number? Oh, cool. Awesome.
So how do I select the 25 lucky winners or whatever? Do I just randomly pick them? Or
no, because you're going to get a whole lot of people.
Pay?
Yes, because you're going to get a whole lot of people that are going to sign up for the list, but aren't going to pay.
Yes. Yeah.
So I send them back. The first 25 people who go sign up.
You set up a giant launch sequence that just pounds people to death with the knowledge that once this thing goes live, you better get there fast. You're going to get the email on this day at this time, so you better be ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a distillery here in Waco called Balcones. They do some world-class whiskeys and other spirits, and they do this on a pretty regular basis, once a quarter, I think, where they have a special release whiskey, and the only way to get it is to hit their website at exactly the right time and sign up for a ticket for Eventbrite before they sell out. Because they have 50 tickets for one of these events, but there's like 5,000 people that want these tickets. There are people that fly in from around the country to show up for these one-day, take a tour of the distillery and buy a limited release of their whiskey. It's insane. They do like a 2-week build-up of this is the day, this is the time, this is what we're going to have, and you better be clicking refresh on the homepage at exactly this time, or otherwise you're going to miss it because the tickets sell out in like a minute.
It's like MicroConf, right? They sent out the email saying it's going to open at this time, and then within 8 minutes they were all gone.
Yeah, code match,
and then you have to be on standby.
Right.
In fact, I take it one step further, and I would say open it up for 25, right? Take the payment for the 25 right there, but then also say that you will have a few extra boxes. You don't know how many yet.
Right.
And encourage people to say if you pay, like only the first 25 are going to get it for sure at the first batch.
Right.
Pay now. And you might get in the extra, and you will be in the next batch. You know, when or if it doesn't work out, we'll refund you. So it'll be sort of a pre-sale, but the pre-sale part of it will also be a little bit of a gambler kind of random chance. Maybe you'll win, maybe you'll get like in the first batch along with the 25. So that'll get more people to sign up for the pre-sale, and the reason why I'm saying this is not just because you want to get money in advance. It's because if you get,
I know how many people will buy.
Exactly, and so that's gonna. For this first launch, I would totally do it that way, and you don't want to lose these people, right? Because if someone's up for it and you've done all this promotion for the launch, you want to capture their payment right away, even if it's beyond the 25, because it's going to be harder for you to get them again the second time. So I would definitely do something like that, and that's just to make sure that you're capturing that.
Yeah, just be you have to be careful about that because you can get in trouble for selling something that you don't have.
Yeah.
Right. Don't want to do that.
It's called fraud.
Well, there's a term for that, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You have to be clear that it's a pre-sale that you're buying, and that your shipment will come at
That's how Gary Halbert ended up in jail. So they couldn't fill the orders fast enough. Basically.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
But yeah, as long as you're clear, on it, I think that's of what exactly is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if I can get a run of 25 soft skills books. I'm just kidding.
I know this guy that might
definitely buy them from me. Chuck.
He wants to be
Amazon.
He wants to be the second or third one run though, right? That's a few hundred people or whatever.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. The couple 100,000 people on your when you have to buy the warehouse.
Get there. but just doing the math, it'll probably be a week of intense work every month until I can actually outsource the
Yeah. You got to do it yourself and figure it out,
but the thing is that let's say that I go with $50 a box, and if anyone's listening and goes and signs up for this, that's not a promise. But let's say it's $50 a pop or a box. Every 20 people that sign up is $1,000 gross, and so even if I make say 20% of that, if I can get enough people, then it can offset enough of my costs for stuff to where I can then spend my time doing other things. In other words, I can buy my freedom with this.
Right. And you need a second stream with this, right? Because you should, like you said, the affiliate thing, like it's not just going to be the $50. You want to make it so when someone buys it, let's say it was $50, that on average you make 70, right? When you average it out or something like that, so that it's because there's definitely opportunities for that and with the different vendors that you'll be.
Right.
I mean, you got to curate the stuff, but if you're introducing products that people don't know about and there's more things to buy from that vendor, not only will the vendor probably give you a discount, but they will probably do an affiliate thing or they'll give you free merchandise. So I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity here for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. And I may be able to, if it's just $25, get one of the publishers to just donate the books and things like that, and then just kind of be ready to do that kind of thing. But
right.
And then basically say, look, and then we'll do this deal again in 6 months, and you have a guaranteed slot for whatever you're trying to promote.
Mm-hmm.
So where are people going? What's the URL for the landing page?
It'll be devboxclub.com.
Okay, all right, DevBox Club.
Yep, or developerboxclub.com. I'll forward that one, but yeah.
Forward all 20 of the domains that you just bought.
Yes, that's what I'm going to be doing. I think I bought 6 or 7 domains, and I'll just forward them all.
Yeah.
But the thing is that then if there is enough interest in a specialized box, then I can do it, and if not, then I can just keep doing this. But that does keep it pretty clean, and then I can set expectations as to how much specialized domain books like language books or framework books or whatever I'm going to include, so that I'm not alienating too many people by saying, look, most of the time you're going to get a book on a language, so it'll vary from thing to thing. But I think there's a lot of opportunity out there with just the variance in technology that's available. I mean, there's databases, there's backends, there's front ends, there's for web technologies, HTML and all the different CSS options and preprocessors, and then you've got programming techniques and agile development. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that I can do that's more general purpose or mostly general purpose that will pay off. So I like it. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll put the landing page up, and I should have that up. I think the first episode's been going out on Tuesday, which means I have to do that this weekend. But I'll get it together.
Cool. This will be interesting. It'll be cool to see what happens with this. So.
Yep. So I'm doing this and Kickstarter at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So with this new devboxclub.com thing, what are you going to stop doing?
Yeah, that's the deal, right? So JS Remote Conf is over in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I just won't pick up another conference.
Right.
But I'm probably going to have to slow down on something else too. I currently have way too many clients, so I'm probably just going to be working my tail off the next week or two anyway to try to just get them done. Because 2 of them are smaller clients, so I can just get them finished, get them out the door, make sure they're happy, and then I can keep my one big client happy, and then spend the rest of my time working on this stuff.
Right.
And it'll be Rails Clips and this DevBox Club. Though I may have that landing page up for like a month and just be touching base with people, to make sure that they're still warm and let them know when things are going to go live. So it'll be somewhat of a combination of, here's some of the things that we're thinking about doing, give us your feedback, or here's another survey, tell us what kinds of stuff you like, or stuff like that.
Yeah, you could announce, hey, I got this great deal on some super secret awesome stuff from this publisher.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, I think you mentioned having different packages that have book and a T-shirt. I think the whole thing should be a mystery. I think that should be part of it. The mystery of I have no idea. If you're gonna do tiers, it should be small, medium, and large type.
Okay, fair enough.
Keep the mystique, and that also doesn't lock you in. If you can't get a book 1 month, or run out of T-shirts or vendors or something. You're not committed to anything.
If you have 5 people that have purchased a box and you have let's say you have 25 random things sitting on your desk, but they aren't, grouped in chunks of 5. Well, you can still send out 5 boxes to 5 people.
Right. They don't even have to be. It doesn't even have to be the same thing to everybody, right?
Everybody could get something different, and it doesn't matter.
The one cool thing about this too is there's a lot you could do with the copywriting, because you can use line teasers all day long. Just teaser bullets where you're kind of describing it in this really vague but interesting sounding way, and just kind of keep the list warm with that.
I got 90% of what I needed to build a robotic arm.
So I got something else to throw on your plate, Chuck, if you need some more stuff to do.
Oh, always.
I was just thinking, man, I should get a simple programmer podcast going. And I thought, it's such a pain because I gotta figure out, and then I gotta schedule guests and stuff. And even with Get Up and Code, it's like a pain, kind of the management of that.
Yeah, but publishing it is so dang easy with Dropbox.
Oh yeah,
just drop your file in Dropbox,
as long as you don't rename the
leaf.
file. Right?
Yeah, as long as you don't rename the file.
But that part's
push the red button.
and EntreProgrammers has gotten, because David's producing it now. But essentially, it would be nice if there was a service out there from an experienced podcaster who does a lot of podcast shows who could basically concierge. Is that concierge?
Yeah.
Basically, okay, I want to start a podcast, right? So here's the deal. I just want someone to set up a meeting for me, Thursday at 3:00, and invite guests for me and schedule them for me, and then all I have to do, yeah, I guess describing everything is not the way to go about this.
You're basically describing what Mandy does for dev reps.
So, essentially. Essentially, what someone who wanted to start a podcast, who knew nothing about it, and just wanted to, especially bigger name people, right, that don't have time for any of the technical details. They just want to start a podcast. So, if there's some service out there where they could say, all I do is show up and record. You guys help me with the guests, I give some suggestions or some topic idea or whatever, and I just show up and record, and then magically everything else happens for me. It gets published, it gets put out on the blog, it gets advertised for me, all this other stuff. Someone responds to the comments, even possibly, maybe that you have to do yourself, but anyway, it'd be an interesting thing also with Signal Leaf as well, because I'm thinking that it's like a
I just build right on top of it. Yeah.
Right, exactly, yeah, because someone signs on with Derek. Derek is able to offer this other thing to say, look, hey, would you like to just have your whole podcast just produced for you and managed for you and the guests invited? All you have to do is show up and record? Well, here you go. And then, he's taking a cut of the referral fee to you, and you're basically providing this through your infrastructure since you already are running, 6 podcasts. You could basically just streamline this for someone, and then they just pay you a monthly fee, and then you're handling paying everyone to get this done. But because you have the reputation, because you say I'm producing 6 podcasts, or you can basically offer the service. And I don't know, it might be something that would be a pretty good win for you. And I don't know of anyone that's really offering it like this.
No,
I do actually.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, the guy Ben. That's exactly how Ben Settle does his podcast. He's not very technical. He shows up. The guy literally sent him his microphone and told him how to plug it into his computer.
Oh, wow!
So he got the podcaster kit, came to his house. He plugs it in, and he shows up. The guy co-hosts it with them, and it's just really easy. And they actually record 4 episodes back to back once a month. So he shows up once a month for 4 hours, or 2.5 hours, if that. And he's got a month of podcasts, and he doesn't have to do anything.
See, I know of a lot of podcasts that work like that, where somebody has set everything up, and it's somebody involved in the podcast. It's their team. Entrepreneur on Fire has got a whole team of people that coordinate all of this. John Lee Dumas doesn't hardly do anything except for show up and record, but it's his team, people that work for him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This guy
I don't know of a third-party service.
This guy has a third-party service where he kind of basically pioneered it with Ben, and then he's been rolling it out to other people.
Really?
So I only say that to validate the model. Like, I think
That's pretty awesome, though.
it could
Hey,
work.
I came up with a good idea then.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But
Is
no,
this the market?
because seriously, like I would pay you, Chuck, to like if I wanted to start Simple Programmer podcast, the biggest hurdle for me doing it is that all this management of the stuff, and now I got to hire someone else to edit this and all this. And if you could just say, hey, look, John, all you got to do is pay X amount of dollars, and I'll get a website up for you. I'll get it scheduled for you. I'll get it all. I'm just gonna tell you what time to show up, and I'm gonna pick good guests for you. You can approve them or whatever, and they'll be ready to go, and you'll be ready to go, and that's all you're gonna have to do. I'd be like, hell's yeah, I'll do that.
I think we just told dev reps what their next business model improvement is.
It could be that too. I mean, it could be a layer on top, or it could be directly.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it would totally be. And even I was thinking, like if I did Simple Programming podcast, I could just do one a month, and there would be super. But it'd be totally worth it to have the presence to it doesn't necessarily have to be a weekly. Like you can offer different services, but just to have that branding, that presence, and to not have to worry about that at all. Especially if you're a big audience, if you're gonna make a lot of money from your podcast, that's I don't know. It would definitely be something that would, and then it works the other way too, right? Because then you can basically sell Signally for, you're buying Signally for them essentially,
right?
And that's the thing that like it fills in the gap in Derek's portfolio, because Derek is very much raw. Like I'm just hosting the file for you. I'm not setting up a website.
Right.
This is very
And
clear.
you're a commodity too, right? At that point.
Right.
So,
but it makes it full service.
So you know how I own feedwrench.com?
And you haven't finished it yet, and I'm really mad at you for not finishing it.
I also own podwrench.com, which was more or less what you're talking about. Now, I wasn't going to go like fully blown. It was mostly just going to be hey, host your podcast here, and we'll manage your RSS feeds and your, your website and your look and feel, and But I do like the idea of having it full service, where it's okay. I mean. It's possible to do a recording through the web, right? Because we're doing it right now with Google Hangouts. So, we could set something up through WebRTC or something else.
Which I know how to do now.
Nice.
Chuck, you need to listen to our back catalog of episodes.
Yes, you do.
Podcastrecorder.io.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, just plugging all of it together. So they record it. It just goes to the right place. And then goes through the workflow. John Lee Dumas actually gave a talk last night at Podcasters Business Summit, and essentially he said that he has, I think it was John Dumas. No, it was Chris Ducker 2 nights ago. Anyway, but he basically explained, I mean, my process for making my podcast is I have to be the one that's sitting there to record the podcast. And then I put it in Dropbox, and I have my editing person go edit it, and then they put it in a different Dropbox, and my show notes person gets it and does the show notes, and and then it goes in another Dropbox to do this other thing, and then so then it gets uploaded to Libsyn and this and that, and then it comes back, and then I have to push the button to publish it. And so he does the work to record it up front, and then he does the work at the end to say, make it live, and that's it.
And that's still too much. That he knows that that's going on is too much for some people.
Right.
Like,
yes.
they
I
don't
totally
even
agree.
know that. Yeah.
But he had to set up his own process, and what I'm saying is so I hire all those people, and all you have to know is that I sit down, I record an episode, and I have a general idea that it's going to come out next week on Wednesday.
Yep. And the thing is, you could even go to those people like Chris Ducker and say, look, I know you don't even have to worry about any of this. Like, just I'll do it full service. Like, you don't even have to know the Dropbox or hit the publish button. Like, and I'm maybe he wouldn't be the best one to sell it to, but there's people that are in between that are sort of involved or that are hiring. Like me, I'm an example of the in between, right? For like Get Up and Code and us for EntreProgrammers, we still have pieces that we have to put together a little bit, right? So if you can just be like, bam, full service, everything, website, everything, then I think there's a big value there. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, and this year I think is the year that podcasting is really just going to take off, And that's why I want to free myself up, is so that I can go after FeedWrench and get it done, and then go after some of these other projects, because I feel like there are probably 4 or 5 essential tools for podcasters out there that either don't exist or don't work well. And so, if I could get all those together and then I can just plug them into each other,
Yep.
Then somebody can come in at whatever level they're at. So it's like, you know what, I want to know what all the pieces are and I want to manage them myself. Fine. Here you go. Here are all the pieces.
Exactly.
And then somebody else comes in and they're like, you know what, I'm an attorney. I don't know computers. I don't care computers. All I want to know is that I sat down, I pushed the record button, and that it's going to come out, and then people can interact with me in a particular way.
Yep.
Right.
And so and then there are some people that are going to want to manage the entire process, and so it's like, okay, well, here's as much of the hosting as you want, and and then you can figure out the other pieces if you don't want to use ours.
And you can even offer like advertising networks too, like in better than what Libsyn and those people do, because they just basically like put random ads and stuff. They don't really match them up. But if you had specific, because if it's like if you charge $500 for your service per month, let's say, and then you're like, but I can get you $500 worth of ads. So then it's totally free for them, but you're and you're putting a bit of a margin, an overhead on the ad as well, then it could be
so that's part of the deal that I've been looking at here, is that or that's one of the services I've been wanting to build, is I wanted FeedWrench to turn into not just feed management, but kind of your one-stop shop to get all of your numbers. And then since I have all of your numbers, then I could turn around and I could build another service that's, these podcasts are interested in sponsorship, because all they have to do is check a box on FeedWrench that says list me in the directory.
Yep.
And then somebody else comes in and says, I'm looking for programming podcasts to advertise on, and then they can say, okay, well, I see all of these different programming podcasts with all of these different audiences and sizes of audiences, and so I want the JavaScript one. I think I can get a good deal because they're not huge, blah, 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 right? And so then they can line up the sponsorship, and then, I just take a cut of that. So if it's a $500 sponsorship, you get 400 and, whatever, and I get the rest, and then you get FeedWrench for free because you're essentially paying for it with that other stuff.
Yep.
So that's another one, is finding subscriptions. There's an engagement tool that I think podcasters could use and go for, tying that into iOS apps for people, or Android apps for people, or is another area that I'd like to go into. So there are a lot of ideas. But if you could tie it all together so that all they really have to do is record and then, make sure that they're talking to their audience when their audience talks to them.
Yep.
Totally agree.
Cool.
But I gotta buy some freedom first.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, but if I have my way, probably April, May, I'll be looking at actually finishing FeedWrench and chasing some of these other ideas.
Okay.
And if I don't get my way, then July, because I'm going to do it one way or the other.
Right.
So, I got something else that, you know what we dropped the ball on? I'm going to blame you guys, because I use a PC primarily. So it's your fault, because I don't have iTunes installed on my PC. But people have been leaving us reviews on EntreProgrammers, and we didn't, we haven't, read any of them.
Wait, people like us?
Well, no, there's actually one guy who doesn't like us. I should read that review.
Totally.
All right, I opened iTunes. Where is it?
Yeah, we gotta.
iTunes has the best UI ever.
Yeah.
You have to go into the app to see the reviews, actually.
No, you don't. I'm looking at the website and seeing them right now.
I know, and that's why I only saw 3 of them.
Oh, I'm looking at all of them, all 9 of them.
We have 9 reviews.
You're looking at all 9 through their website on iTunes?
Think so.
I'm on iTunes. Yeah, you can see the reviews on the website. How do you?
I clicked more and it only shows 3.
Oh, here we go. Ratings and reviews.
You're right.
So we have 9 ratings.
9 ratings, but only 3 reviews.
Yeah, but we actually have.
No, we have more than 3.
Well, it only shows 3 though. It's what on the website. So
I see.
That's why I
We
say
have
that's your guys' fault.
7 written reviews.
Right.
Yep.
So Heath likes us. The podcast makes me feel like I'm within the group, so comfortable and packed with fantastic information. Thanks so much. Keep producing. I want to see the not so happy one.
There's
Well, there's Anthony.
Anthony, there we go.
Lacking
We love you
specific
anyway, Anthony.
information. It's a group of guys talking about things that have happened in their business the past week, which is not applicable, actionable most of the time.
Yeah, but that's your opinion, Anthony. We don't like you either, Anthony.
So
You're not listening.
I don't think Anthony is wrong, but I don't think I think the value is in exactly what he just described.
Right.
Yeah. So
I mean, frankly, the majority of the time when people say that they listen to this, they say, "I love how I get the inside view on what's happening on a weekly basis."
Right.
Well, yeah, it's basically. I mean, yeah, exactly.
I think
It's how to think about problems, not like here's how to solve this one specific problem all the time.
But it's look, these are the problems we're facing, and holy crap, this sucks, and here's what I did, and here's the results, and we're not a typical podcast that's trying to give people solutions to problems. We're facing these problems and talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that general advice is only so useful.
Right.
And I think ultimately, when Josh gets up and says, "Hey, I did this on my list and I had this kind of a result," then, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, if I do that on my list, am I going to get the same result?
Right.
Or, that really kind of tanked. I really don't want to do that on my list, or whatever. So you see the good and the bad, and then if you're anywhere close, then you can figure out how applicable it really is.
I now have the Facts of Life theme song playing in my head. Thanks, Jeff. You take the good, you take the bad. Blah. The Facts of Life.
You're following, right? If you're following as we progress through.
Yeah, that's the real.
It's like sitting down with someone. Like it's like you can get. I listen to a lot of podcasts that give like actionable advice and stuff, and it's great. But if you're not following along and seeing what someone's actually doing, it's so much better to sit down with someone who's actually doing the thing. Like I've always thought, man, I could have become an entrepreneur a long time ago if I just knew someone, and then I could just like shadow them. Right, and that's what I think is the benefit here is you're shadowing us essentially and seeing what we're doing, mistakes, right things, whatever, and our true, unfiltered thoughts and finances around the things. So
right.
I also want to just jump in here because, I get that this show isn't going to be helpful for everyone.
Yeah.
But Anthony, if you are listening, I would like to know what we can do or what we can talk about that is more applicable or actionable. This is our mastermind, so we are going to talk about what's going on with us. But if there's some aspect of this that we can talk about that, would pay off for you,
right?
Then we can at least be mindful of that and hopefully add some value to you that way.
I take a different view.
So Anthony's review lacked actionable.
I think this is going to be a polarizing podcast, and I'm okay with that. I'm like, okay, Anthony, you're not our target audience.
Right.
I don't really care to try and because this is what it is. It is our mastermind group. It is, and a lot of people, majority of people probably won't like it. It's the special people that listen.
Special.
But yeah.
All I'm really aiming for is if he has a couple more questions that we can ask each other.
Oh
that make our advice to each other more actionable. There is something that could be added. But,
sure.
If generally he just doesn't identify with us, then I don't know that there's a lot we can do.
Right. Yeah. Maybe he hasn't heard the good jokes. I don't know. Maybe. But, actually, this is kind of interesting, too, to plug us some more. There's been a couple of success stories I've been seeing on Twitter and blog posts of people who launched products, who have, done things. There was one, a Skype recorder. I want to get the actual. I don't know. Do you guys have that?
Yeah, I retweeted it a few minutes ago. Check my Twitter feed. From Mark Heath. It's the Skype voice changer at.
So you can leave hostage message.
Exactly. SkypeVoiceChanger.net. So it's a pretty awesome story that he wrote about on his blog where He talks about how our podcast helped him get past a lot of the hang-ups and the waiting for it to be perfect and all that kind of stuff, and how he launched this thing. He's had this free version of it forever, and he finally decided to launch it after listening to our podcast for a while.
Yep.
This may shock you, but Uncle Chuck really doesn't know what he's doing most of the time.
That's all of us, man. None of us do.
That's why
I'm here.
Value.
Exactly.
That's the biggest value. To me, that's the biggest value, is that we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Because I mean, I get that kind of response with my weekly emails on almost a weekly basis. I get at least one person replying to me saying, "Thank you for writing this. I thought I was the only one dealing with this."
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and it's comforting for people to know that even the people that they look up to, which I don't know why anybody would look up to us, but whatever. Even the people you look up to are human beings that struggle with the same things.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes I think, you guys are a step or two ahead of me in some areas, and I'm a step ahead of you in some areas. And what that does is you're still close enough to where I am to where you can tell me what to do. And it's not this abstract, well, I have this general feeling that this would work out well for you. And,
Right.
hey, look, I struggled through that, and, here is an actual, example of where what I did worked or didn't work.
Right.
And the biggest thing about being an entrepreneur is to realize that you don't know what to do, but you have to take action anyway. That's the one thing that separates the people who do become entrepreneurs and who don't. Is the people who don't think they have to know the answer and be right before they can take action, and so they never do, or they always take the safe path. But the people who actually jump into the water filled with sharks are the ones who eventually learn how to swim really fast. And, there's no in between. There's no medium. You can't dip your toe in.
Devoured.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you can't dip your toe in. There's no in between, and that's the thing. Is like, and I think when you listen to sometimes, not to knock other podcasts, because I listen to a lot of other podcasts, but you hear the success, you hear the success, you hear the success, or you hear, quote, a failure story, but you haven't seen the progress. You haven't gone through the thing. You haven't realized that most of the time entrepreneurs are shooting from their hips, and they're like, and
I hope this works.
Yeah, exactly. And the value is talking to other people. Our mastermind group has been extremely valuable to me. That's why I wanted to share it, is because all of a sudden now it's not just me thinking in the box, wondering about my own thing. It's I'm actually bouncing off the ideas off of other people who are also scared and doing the same thing. So
Totally.
Yeah. I want to read some more things on.
Chuck, you're going all staticky on us.
What?
There we go. That's better.
we do have to read the.
I blame
one
Google.
guy.
Yes, totally.
Which one guy?
Henson Thomas, because he said he gave us 5 stars. Everyone gave us 5 stars except for Anthony, but he said podcast that pulls the curtain back on 3 developers trying to bootstrap their business from the ground up. Plus, if you write a review, they'll read it on the next episode. Keep up the good work, guys. Because I need
man, that was like
motivation.
4 months ago that he wrote that.
Or the next.
Sorry, Thomas.
Yeah. So we will start reading these now that we know where to look. That you actually have to look on iTunes. But yeah.
I want to be an EntreProgrammer.
Yeah.
I listened to the first 3 episodes today, and I like the format. Oh, sorry, that's Heather.
So that was the lie. So it's in reverse chronological order. So it's the newer ones are at the bottom.
Yeah.
So
well,
there's,
that's actually chronological order.
Oh, you're right. It is.
Anyway. You learned something today, Derek.
I did.
Is it ascending or descending? I can't ever remember.
I don't know. So, Great Developer Business Podcast from Devin S. Rose. Oh, hey, Devin. I've been emailing Devin a lot lately. That's cool. We've been talking about Signal Leaf and about opportunities for me to do some consulting with the company he works for, which I am politely turning down at the moment. But hi, Devin. So he says, I love this podcast. There are 3 developers who discuss their efforts to build their own business around their software development efforts, websites, email marketing, videos, webcasts, book writing. They're candid about the ups and downs, and it's been fascinating to see how their efforts have materialized over the past year. I've benefited from learning about the different services they use and how they work to promote their work. I feel like I know the guys personally, highly recommended for anyone trying to start their own information product or service.
I just want to jump in. There are 3 developers, and that's because Josh is a copywriter.
That's right.
Yeah, we still.
This was written back in December.
I'm becoming
4th.
the 5th Beatle here.
Right. This was written December 4th before Chuck was around. So.
I sort of don't write any code either now.
Right.
But at least I'm a life coach for software developers.
Yes.
Okay, so they overestimated John.
So 2.5 developers.
Yeah.
And
that sounds like a sitcom to me.
yes. That wants to read the last one. I love this podcast.
Go ahead, Derek. Go
Okay,
ahead.
sure, I guess.
Dramatic.
So, ABTS Doug. I have no idea what the ABTS stands for, but okay. So, ABTS Doug says, I love this podcast. These guys are awesome for doing this podcast, and I've enjoyed every episode so far. I look forward to episodes regularly and recommend it to developerpreneurs out there.
Cool.
Awesome.
So yeah, I was thinking we should do something like to get more reviews instead of just saying, "Hey, we'll leave a review or a rating in iTunes." And
let's start by saying, "Hey, go leave us a review on iTunes."
Well, but it'd be cool if if for every review that came in, we pledged to do something.
Yeah.
Like Derek
and
had
then
to
totally forget
sing a
about it
song.
for 4 months.
Yeah. We'll have to think about that, but like maybe if Derek pledged to sing a song or something.
I could totally sing "Let It Go."
There we go. Okay, if you leave a review.
Oh,
all right.
So, real quick story.
If 10 new reviews show up, Derek will sing
10
Let It Go.
reviews by the time next week rolls around.
Yeah.
And I will sing "Let It Go."
Okay, that's fair. And then next week, it'll be someone else's turn to do a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, something embarrassing.
10 new reviews. We have 7
if we're-
reviews right now. We need 17 by the time we roll around next week.
Yep.
If we're anything like my kids, though, I want to sing "Let It Go" too.
Yes.
If we get 50 new reviews, we'll all sing "Let It Go" all together.
Awesome.
So
I actually have a sing-along CD, so I could play the music in the background.
Ooh, yay! Yeah, my daughter got a karaoke machine with that one, and do you want to build a snowman on it?
Awesome.
So
I can totally do the reindeer song. Reindeers are better than people. I think that's right.
You're not allowed to sing yet, otherwise people won't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do have another idea on this, and this is something that I'm probably going to do on my other podcasts to get people to join my mailing list, and that is that I am going to offer on the podcast to spend an hour coaching or talking to or pairing with somebody. I'll probably give away 2 hours randomly to people that sign up for the mailing list just to see if I can get some traction there.
Oh, by the way, ding! It's been about an hour into the podcast. We should all get a cup of coffee or something
Take
else.
an awkward pause here.
Yeah, let's pause for a second, think about what we've just talked about, and then we'll resume in say a minute or two, however long it takes for someone to pull up the next episode of the podcast on their podcast player.
Are you loving the Entrepreneurs Podcast? Do you wish that you could start your own business? Are you a programmer who has that next great idea? Well, go start Facebook and then listen to the EntreProgrammers Podcast.
Actually, this would be a really good spot to talk about our new sponsors for February, because this episode is being recorded on January 30th, but it'll be released in February with our new sponsors. So first of all, thanks again to Drip.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome, and we love Drip. I use the crap out of Drip constantly for all of my email stuff. And then our latest and greatest, newest sponsor will be Telerik. We got the Telerik platform coming up, and you'll probably have heard the blurb at the beginning of this episode already, but I did want to specifically say thank you to Telerik. These guys, I worked for them for a year, so I know a bunch of them really well. And I love the company, and they were super happy to just throw money at us and help us keep this thing rolling.
Hey, John Sonmez here. Just want to take a second to tell you about a tool that I am really excited about. I've recently switched all of my email marketing over to a tool called Drip, and I couldn't be happier. I created a course, an email course, about how to create a blog that boosts your career, and so far I've gotten a ton of signups from it, way more than I expected. Not only that, but the engagement level of the people that are signing up is huge, and then at the end of the course, I'm getting big conversion rates, which is something that I really need in order to sell my products, and this is something that's extremely helpful to any entrepreneur, EntreProgrammer out there. The reason why Drip works so well is because it's specifically built for bootstrappers. It's email marketing for bootstrappers, and this is really why I switched over and why I'm finding it so effective. If you want to get started with Drip, you can get started today. Just go to getdrip.com/EntreProgrammers. Once again, that's getdrip.com/EntreProgrammers. And when you sign up, you can get an email mini course created for you. They'll actually do this for you. So if you're not sure how to do this, if you have a few blog posts or an ebook, they can get that started for you, which makes it super simple, and you can start getting those benefits today and not tomorrow. They also have all the kind of marketing automation rules that you would want, tagging, much better than a lot of the other major automation players, and they integrate with things like Stripe, PayPal, Lead Pages, Chargeify, Gumroad, tons of great features in there. So I highly recommend that you check it out. Go to getdrip.com/EntreProgrammers. Take care.
This episode of the EntreProgrammers is brought to you in part by Telerik and the Telerik App Builder. Are you looking to launch your own startup in the mobile arena? Then definitely check out the Telerik App Builder. With the Telerik App Builder, you can create beautiful cross-platform and mobile applications for iOS, Android, and Windows Phone using a hyper-productive development environment. And let me tell you, the first time I used this app builder, I was blown away by how great it was. It's a really easy-to-use IDE. It's everything that you need in order to get an application built to run cross-platform. And the best part is, you can do it all from your browser or from an IDE like Visual Studio. So check it out today at telerik.com/appbuilder.
You would have worked for them for a year and a half if you would listen to John.
Yeah, I would have worked for him for a year and a half if I had listened to both of you guys. But.
I know, my wife was like, why did Derek go into debt? And she's like, I'm listening to those episodes. And I was like, well, remember back when me and John were like, hey,
when he quit.
You should, like, in 6 months, you should quit your job. Like, you should.
Okay, I'll quit now.
Next week, I quit! Like, that probably had something to do with it.
That probably did.
I've got actually a cool...
Speaking of debt, all right. So I from last Friday when we talked about how I had a savings account and you guys all told stupid. So I talked to my wife.
We didn't tell
about
you
that.
were stupid. We just told you to liquidate it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So I talked to my wife about that Saturday last week, and she pretty much agreed to everything that you guys were saying, and so I went and talked to my bank about the accounts that I have. And I couldn't change any of my accounts to reduce any of the fees that I would get for going under my limits. But it turns out that paying a $20 a month limit under my limits fee is going to be a whole lot better than paying $120 a month for finance fees.
Yeah.
So we took out, we left $5,000 in our personal savings account for emergency purposes. So that allowed me to take out about $8,600 from that account, and then I took out the $5,000 from my business bank account. And after using all that to pay down the credit cards, I'm looking at just under $5,000 in credit card debt remaining right now.
Nice.
So from $25,000 in debt down to $5,000 in a matter of 3 weeks, it's pretty freaking phenomenal.
And people wonder why they should listen to this show.
Seriously.
What the heck? I mean, seriously.
But where does that put your stress level? Do you feel better? Do you feel
I
worse?
honestly don't. I don't feel better yet, and I won't feel better until I replenish my savings accounts and also pay off this remaining $5,000.
That's
so
probably a good thing.
I was just curious to see.
It's still going to be a couple of months for me to really get out of this. But one of the things I am doing, which is where conversation with me and Devin Rose that I mentioned earlier came into play, was I'm going to be ramping up my client hours for the month of February. I'll be basically almost working full-time for them in February. We have deadlines coming up with the project I'm currently working on, and then I need the money. So I should be able to get all of the remaining 5,000 paid off and get maybe 20 to 25% of my savings account rebuilt by the end of February. And if I can do that again a couple more times and maybe not March, but maybe April, go every other month or something like that, then I should be able to get my savings account built back up pretty quickly.
Awesome.
Nice.
So that's actually putting quite a bit more stress on me, though, honestly, because in order to go almost full time with that client, I'm having to put other things on hold. So I got my Dropbox integration with SignalLeaf turned on today. I fixed the problems that I ran into with the app folder, and I turned it on for Get Up and Code for John, and then also Frag Castle, which is a video game development company that hosts on SignalLeaf. I've been talking with one of the guys that runs that, and he was super excited about hearing about the Dropbox integration, so I turned on the Dropbox integration for him as well,
Nice.
in order to hopefully get some good feedback on how this is working and be able to improve it in the future. So that's been awesome. Thanks again, Chuck, for that idea, because I think this is going to be killer huge. But then for Watch Me Code, it's kind of stressful because I do need to continue Watch Me Code. I don't want to run out of episodes and not have anything to deliver while I'm putting in all this time for my client. So I'm going to have to find a way to get the hours in for the client, but also get the hours in for Watch Me Code to be able to continue that. But I've got some pretty awesome stuff coming up for Watch Me Code in the form of non-screencast benefits. Spent some time talking with a book publisher yesterday, and I will have some pretty epic discounts from this publisher for books related to the subjects that I'm dealing with. And that kind of gave me the idea of, hey, I should be reaching out to other places, other companies, other publishers especially, and asking for some additional discounts to send to my subscribers and to people that are purchasing the screencast bundles. And so I'm gonna put a couple of my own things in there, like my 5 rules for mastering this ebook, and maybe a discount code for my Backbone plugins ebook. And I'm gonna set up a page or a series of blog posts or whatever on subscriber benefits, and use that as a way to make Watch Me Code a little more attractive. First of all, because people will get these additional benefits out of their subscription. But then also as a way to help keep people around and help market Watch Me Code, because I'll be able to say, hey, not only do you get all of these amazing screencasts, but you get massive discounts on material related to the content in the screencasts.
And I'll send you a box full of random stuff every month.
Yeah. I'll let Chuck do that one, but So hopefully some additional subscriber benefits will help improve this. And then
Yeah.
I talked to your friend Chuck. Thanks for that connection about subscriber retention, and we are gonna be moving forward with some of his ideas. We're gonna do. He's doing it for free, which is awesome, and we're gonna use Watch Me Code as a case study for him. Also, just to help him kind of run his process through its paces. But then I'm also going to help him by getting him hooked up with podcast-related information and resources and connections and whatnot.
This is the lifecycle email guy?
Yeah, the lifecycle email guy. So I'll probably be hitting up you guys for connections to send this guy to in order to help him get his business podcast launched, so that he'll be able to find good people to talk to and good good resources and whatnot for getting his podcast out there and marketed and all that.
Cool.
Awesome.
So yeah, good week for me overall. Paying down that debt was nice, though it is still stressful. Getting all this stuff with Watch Me Code going is pretty awesome, and having that feature actually work with Dropbox integration now. So yeah, if anybody out there is listening and they want to help me beta test Dropbox integration with SignalLeaf, shoot me a line on Twitter or email or whatever. And if you've got a podcast hosted with SignalLeaf, I'll turn the feature on for you in exchange for feedback on how well the feature works and things that I need to do to improve the feature. Because it works, but I know there are things that can be improved to make it easier, to make it more awesome, to make it more automated, to make it whatever.
Yep.
And I really need feedback on this.
And hopefully I'll have some for you soon.
Yep.
Next week, hopefully.
One quick thing. So I think the renaming thing is. Do you have a plan to fix that?
No, it's not possible.
It's not possible.
There is no API to know when a file is renamed. The only thing that I could do is literally listen to every single file change and store a hash of the complete contents of that file in order to try and identify what file is changing when. But it's...
Well, yeah. You're hitting the 90% case, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, most people, the automation is dropping the thing in there.
Right.
If you need to change the file, you just have to go and re-upload the file through the user interface, right?
If you want to change the contents, if you want to rename the episode, if you want to change the description, just edit your ID3 tags and keep the same file name. Yep. As soon as you put that updated file in place, I do handle updated files just fine. I'll take the new information out of your file and I'll update your existing episode, keeping your original publish date in place, and I'll update the existing episode. But if you rename a file, it's going to publish as a new episode.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Dropbox API does not tell you when files are renamed. It shows you a file was deleted, and it shows you a file was added.
You could solve it, but it wouldn't be worth solving.
Yeah, I spent about an hour researching the problem, and the solutions that people have are insanely difficult.
Well, the simple solution for me, which isn't so simple because it's programmatic, is to look at the tags on the file or to do an audio sampling.
There is. I mean, I could have people put a unique identifier in one of the tags in the file and use that. And look things up based on that, but that requires them knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, you'd have to do like a fuzzy logic, like it looks 90% likely that this is the thing, and then so it's just not worth it. It's not.
Yeah, so that's a problem that I'm not going to solve unless it becomes apparent that everyone absolutely needs that feature.
So you can't just checksum the file and say I already have this one identical file somewhere else.
No,
He's talking about renaming.
Yeah, because the file...
Is the file name part of the checksum?
If you're doing a true rename, then yes, I could do that.
Yeah, but see,
you're editing the file and renaming it...
then that's a problem.
Right.
There's no way to know that.
Right.
Well, there's a way to know it with fuzzy logic, right? You could basically say most of the MP3 tags, like I looked at the episode number and it's the same, right? The file name's different, you know, but there's a couple other indicators that are telling me that it's the same. I took a small sampling of the audio and I found a match, or you could get more sophisticated with it. So you could kind of, but why would you? I mean, that's such a small case, right? Like if I'm going to change the episode, that's a small case, right? I've already published it. Now I want to update it, so I take the same file with the same file name and drop it in there, and I've got new information. And you're handling that apparently.
Yeah, I'm already handling that.
And then if I want to just like change the file name itself, that seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
why would I do that?
Yeah. The only benefit to changing the file name is just for your own record keeping, so that you could have the original version and the edited version and the whatever else.
Yeah.
Just keep the file name, keep the published file name the same, and make a backup of the older one with a different name.
Yeah. If it becomes a problem, you could always like automate to send an email to someone to say, "Hey, do you want to publish this?" Like, you have to click something to.
Right. Yeah. Which is, feedback that I'm hoping to get. Do people want an email when an episode is published through Dropbox?
When it's published.
Yeah. There will be a small delay. It takes. A few seconds to a few minutes for the episode to actually get published.
I don't want to confirm it though. I want you to tell me. I mean, maybe somewhere down the road, maybe some people might want to confirm it, and maybe you make it so that they can turn off the confirmations. But I definitely want a thing that tells me that the episode's been published. Like in my case with Doug handling my stuff, I want to see that it went out at the right time and know that it's out there. And if I don't get that email, then I'm going to be concerned.
Right, that's a good point. So I'll probably work on that email pretty quickly here, and I gotta put a couple of my own instrumentation things in there so I can track how often people are using the feature and which podcasts are using it and all that kind of stuff, just for my own purposes, so that I can look at actual data to get improvement ideas.
Yeah, but I wouldn't add too much more to this feature until people are asking for it.
Right.
Yeah. So we need to get your floating head, Chuck. I saw that you updated your Google profile, so you've got your cartoon.
Oh, I need to go update it now with all my pretty photos. And I did the Kickstarter video yesterday. I got that recorded.
Nice.
And so I should have the edited, finished or mostly finished copy next week. So that's awesome. But yeah, I'll get you the photos from the photo shoot last week.
Okay.
And then you can
basically just pick one that you want to use and send me that one, and I'll send it off to Fiverr to get the cartoon head made.
Awesome.
And we need, I guess we should have a quick discussion on the show splitting, because, like, do we have... I mean, from reading the comments, it seems like the biggest issue is separating out, like, knowing where one stops and one starts, and then if they come out of order. So I think if we solve both of those problems, then maybe we could see what people think of that, because it seems like it might be better to split the shows when I look at the numbers on Signal Leaf.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
So my thinking is, so you can put in a publish date, and at least in iTunes, you use the pub date, which is an RSS tag, and you can put in the date and time. Mm-hmm. So I would just set it up so that episode 2 or part 2 releases about 5 minutes before part 1.
Right.
And that way it comes in and I get episode 2 first and then episode 1, and that way, because most podcasters play the newest first and then
right.
So then you'll hear episode 1 and then then you'll get episode 2 right after it. So if people only want to listen to one at a time, then great. They'll get the exit info and then the intro info, if they want to listen to the whole thing,
right.
And then we can leave them split. And then if people are still, because the only thing that I've heard from people that was a real negative that they could point to was that, one's released one day and one's released the next day, and so there's a little bit of disconnect between the two. It's like, okay, what was the context of the conversation when it picks right back up?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if it flows right into the next episode, barring somebody releasing right in the middle in that 5-minute window, then the people who want a full thing hopefully will just mostly get that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good idea. We should probably try that, because right now they are being released a day apart, or a few hours, like 6 or 8 hours apart. But if we reverse the order on Signal Leaf, and we have the second half released 5 minutes prior to the first half, that could work.
I wonder though if the reverse order, because then that some people might complain. I know, like, my podcasts are set to play the oldest first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't say that I have heard a single positive comment from anyone in support of doing this.
I've heard 2.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
One. I haven't heard any either.
Well, 1.5. I've heard one positive comment from a former
one from
coworker.
Anthony. He's like, I only have to listen to half as much of this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. No, a former coworker of mine commented and said, I like having it split into 2 because he listens during his workout, and his workout is approximately an hour.
Yeah.
And then the other not negative comment was, I think it was actually from Devin. He was like, well, I'm kind of neutral on it. It doesn't really matter to me because my podcast player plays it in the right order anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, I guess we could look at the pros and cons. Like from the numbers, we have more downloads, which I mean, we are recording a 2-hour podcast, so it's not like we're cheating the system. Most podcasts are around half an hour to an hour. So that's a benefit because it gives us bigger numbers to show for sponsorship. It gives more episodes in iTunes.
But the benefit there is almost a little bit shady in terms of sponsorship because we can tell them, hey, you're going to get 1,000 listens for every episode that we release. We could say that for 2 episodes every week, or we could say that for 1 episode every week, just by doubling the number of sponsorship messages in the podcast. So most podcasts, they have the beginning and the middle and the end. Right now, we really only have the beginning, and I think David's been putting Signal Leaf at the end as well. But with starting in February, we're going to have Telerik in the mix as well. So we're going to have beginning and somewhere else in the mix. And if we doubled up the sponsorship message for a 2-hour-long podcast, then we could give our sponsors the same exposure.
If we threw the mid-roll in there and
right.
I mean, it's easy when you communicate that way, but will most people that are dealing with podcasts really like, or will it be better to look at the number? I mean, sponsorship's not a huge thing, right? I mean, we're not going to make lots of money off this podcast. We just want to cover our costs.
I just want to be able to pay for editing because I can't afford to pay the editor.
Right. But in the long term, because the one thing I wonder too is like, is it because people are used to the old format, so then that's why they don't like the new? But if new people are coming on, are they actually preferring this new format of it being split because it's easier to listen to? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, we've asked for feedback on this a number of times, and all we've heard is negative. So to me, I would think if we're hearing from a vocal minority, that we probably would hear from a vocal minority on both sides if there were.
Yeah.
Sides.
I don't have a strong feeling either way.
Chuck, you're going static again.
I blame Google Plus.
Chuck has the most expensive audio equipment out of all of us, and the most problem.
I blame living. Where do you live? Idaho?
He's in Utah.
Utah. I blame Utah.
But okay, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not like set on doing the.
Yeah, I think it complicates things, and it does add the potential for like technical screw ups. Like I have heard from a number of people, like I never got episode whatever second half, or
that's true.
This shows up out of order, or like blah blah blah. So.
Well, let's just do it then. Let's. I mean, you're right. Like if we've asked for feedback, we don't really have any really good argument to keep them split it up. It does add complication. So let's go back to 1 then, I guess.
Okay.
And people that are, I mean, and I guess we are also discussed that this is a very polarizing podcast, right? Like some people, we're not going to appeal to the wide audience, but the people that want to listen to this podcast will listen to the 2-hour podcast. I guess it doesn't really matter if it's split into 2 anyway, so for them. So.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, so we decided, Chuck, you're out of the podcast.
So now we're down to one. Now we're down to 1.5 programmers.
Yes.
No.
We're gonna stop splitting the episodes. With all but one comment being negative, where it just doesn't really make sense. It's caused too much confusion, too many problems.
Yep. Okay.
That's fine.
So do we want to do mid rolls? I don't know if it's even. I mean.
I think we should.
Okay, we'll throw a mid-roll in there, little break. You'll have some little music or something.
Right.
So okay, so there we go, David. 1 episode. We give the instruction through the podcast. He's like, dang it, I'm already on the second episode.
Come on.
I guess we'll have to send
back
an
and
email.
uncut it.
I'm making a note to send an email, but
All right.
If we're gonna delegate via podcast, do it.
Yes.
Yeah, the first part. Right. So yeah.
All right,
so
David.
we'll
If you could go back to minute 9 of this episode and.
and halfway through, there'll be some kind of dancing spider going do 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 do. Intermission is brought to you by Drip and Telerik.
Yes.
And then the two spiders will fight.
Right. Speaking of Telerik, we gotta get some recordings done for them. They sent me some information. I will forward it to you guys. I will make sure to get at least me recording Telerik's sponsorship message prior to. I'll do it today, and so that way we have something available for that for the episode release. But then if we could get a couple more of you guys recording as well.
We should get Angela Jones.
The more variations we have for a sponsor, the better.
Yeah.
It stays fresh, and it's not hearing the same thing over and over again.
I actually have a cool Telerik story. Like back before I even knew you, Derek, my wife was still a programmer, and I went to a conference, and I think Telerik was giving away these .NET Ninja shirts. Mm-hmm. And they were totally
always popular.
Yeah, they were totally out of them. Didn't have any more. And so I had emailed Telerik and I had said, my wife really liked the .NET Ninja shirt, and they FedExed one overnight to her.
Nice.
It was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that was always the most popular shirt. I would bring a stack of 50 of those things to a user group of 25 people and would leave with 0.
Nice.
People always love those shirts. But yeah, I really liked working there. I mean, it was a ton of fun. Amazing company, awesome products and services. Super happy to have them sponsoring. I just realized after a year that I can't work for anyone else anymore. I've had too much of a taste of the stress and horrors of working for myself to ever want to have an easy life again.
Can I start another fight?
Another fight? What?
Yeah, we've already had some arguments. I want to start another one.
Totally, go for it.
So Josh, what's your next product?
Do we get into our discussion about consulting versus product and assets?
I know that there are some people out there who are debating this in their head.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think just having some people talk about it out in the open will really at least help solidify some of the arguments for and against. So.
All right. So the two halves of the argument are consulting versus products, and the idea of passive income with products versus hours for dollars in consulting and contracting work. Personally, I don't think either answer is correct. I think it depends on you and what your goals are. It also depends on the specific niche that you're in. And I think for Josh, consulting is going to be significantly more valuable and significantly higher return on his time. For most of us, writing books, and for me especially doing screencasts, is not going to have as much potential return. As much potential return value. I think screencast for me has a better return than books do, but only because I've been doing it for a long time now, and people are starting to latch on to me doing that. But it is still a constant work to produce this content. I mean, John knows all about that from Pluralsight, how much work it takes to produce these things and the return that you get on these things. So it's for me, it's not so much a debate of right versus wrong. It's a debate of what's right for you and your goals.
It depends. What a cop-out answer.
Exactly.
Even if it's true.
Yeah, talking like a consultant.
And for $500 an hour, I can totally help you make that decision.
Maybe.
Or not make that decision.
Make that decision. It'll take me at least 300 hours to make that decision for you.
Yeah, I've just been thinking lately about the idea of assets. That's kind of what got me thinking about this, and like, for me building products, I don't look around and see anybody who's got a product. Very few people that have products that are actually assets that last more than 3 to 5 years.
You're talking about info products primarily.
Primarily info products, yes. Yeah, I actually think
But
for
Signal
like
Leaf
a SaaS app.
Signal Leaf is a product.
Yeah, no, I think
It's
yeah.
in a different way.
Yes, I think that like a SaaS application is more. It's an actual. It's more of a business. Like you're not. The problem with info products is that the internet puts constant pressure on them to make them more and more commoditized. Actually, Amazon's doing this again with the Kindle authorship, or the Kindle Unlimited program.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of indie authors have pulled their stuff out of the Unlimited program because they force you to be exclusive, and then they're only paying you a fraction. I mean, people paying $9.95 a month for unlimited books versus buying your book for $3 or $5.
Right.
You're not going to make as much money.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to make that up on volume.
Right.
Because you don't have the marketing clout to do that. So I've just been kind of thinking about, just the idea of I don't think that info products are assets, kind of the way that they're billed. To like, there's a whole industry of people that are selling the idea of like making passive income off of info products, and I think for most people that's a pretty tough dream to achieve. And like the people that I see that are doing really well with this, like Bob Bly, so he's a copywriter, one of the best-known copywriters in the world. He has 100 books that he's published.
Mm-hmm.
And he still does consulting. Now I know he makes about $600,000 a year, and I'm willing to bet that the majority of that money comes from consulting, actual consulting work, not the books. And Perry Marshall, he does, he's one of the best info marketers in the world. He has a bunch of products, but then he also still has his high-end, like most of his money, I believe, comes from his high-end consulting, where he's got, his hourly rate is $2,000 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And he does these, he's got these high-level consulting groups or coaching groups rather. So they're like a product, they're like packaged, but they're really consulting. They're not something that he could just, walk away from and it would continue to sell.
Right. So, I want to jump in on here real quick, because ultimately when we had some of this discussion on the email list, granted, but when you said consulting initially, I was thinking more along the lines of what I'm doing, where I'm billing out for $150 an hour or something. And when you're talking about that level of consulting, it's a different thing.
So it's consulting versus contracting, which is a semantic, pedantic point to make, but I think it's an important one.
Mm-hmm.
I, right now, am a contractor for my one client. I, in the past, have been a very well-paid consultant where, I wrote code for the clients, but my primary goal and my primary role was to make the team of the client into a better team, into better developers, so that I could walk away from it and they would continue on without me.
Right. It's tough to scale. Like it's tough to scale contracting, because
it's even more difficult to scale consulting.
Well, but you're basically you can scale that in terms of income though, because you can provide more value. You can always provide value. Mm-hmm. But like with contracting, you're the one there typing the code, basically.
Right.
Contracting. You're typing the code. If you're not typing the code, no one's typing the code. And you're also a commodity, because you're typing code and someone else is typing code, and they can compare that directly. Versus if you can package your consulting in such a way that it's not comparable to anything else out there.
See, now we have to get into the debate of whether or not the value that we provide as contractors is typing.
Well, I'm simplifying. For me, it's writing copy, right? It's the same thing. If I charge per word or something, writing copy.
Now, and ultimately, what
I charge per line of code, and I copy and paste a lot.
For me, anyway, is that when I'm contracting, there's a deliverable at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
And so they're not going to pay me $2,000 an hour to create that, because I would have to be 100 or 10 times faster than the $200 an hour guy, and 1,000 times faster than the $2 an hour guy,
right,
or 100 times faster than the $20 an hour guy. And so in terms of cost, I mean, it doesn't make a ton of sense, and there's a definite price point comparison there. But when you're talking about consulting at the levels that Josh is talking about, it really does get up there more along the lines of a product or productized consulting, where you're ultimately offering value for value, and they recognize that value one way or the other. And so they either pay for a session or they pay for an hour, but they know that when they come out of it, they're going to get that value back. Whereas the risks are different with contracting.
Yeah.
And the other thing that really struck me with the conversation that we're having now is that ultimately you sell the high-end consulting that Josh is talking about and these products that we're also talking about a lot of the same way, right? I mean, the people that I know that are out there putting out info products and having a lot of success with those are the people that have built an audience, they've built expertise, a lot of people follow them and know who they are, and so when they put something out, people just buy it. They immediately go, well, I trust the value here, it says it does something that I need, so here's my money. And so they make it work, and then they put out a new info product, or they update the info product in continuous fashion. The high-end consulting is the same way, right? You're selling on reputation,
right?
And so the difference is that you're selling your time as opposed to putting time into a product that that people are going to go out and pay for. And so it just depends on which way you want to scale your time.
It's a great "it depends" answer, Chuck.
So there's another way to think about this too, which is, this is how, like, as Josh was describing this, it's if you've ever tried to like spin a basketball on your finger, right, requires your finger. But if you've seen those guys that spin plates, right, have you ever seen that, where they go and they spin one plate and they spin another plate and they spin another plate, or maybe or the Harlem Globetrotters, where they spin like 5 different basketballs and they keep the one spinning and they get the other one spinning and the other one spinning.
Right.
That's the difference between consulting and products and assets, essentially. Now, there's different levels of it, right, in between those things. And as a consultant, you have to keep your ball spinning. You cannot spin something else, right? Because your time is being directly translated into dollars. Now, as someone who builds products and assets, you can spin a plate, right? And then you can move on to the next plate. And while the first one's still spinning off money, right, you can get the second one spinning. And maybe if you're really good, you can get 5 plates spinning at the same time. But you got to keep going back to the first one, spin that one a little bit more, right? You get all these plates spinning. At the same time, they're all throwing off money. So you're able to use your time in a different way. Now, it all comes down to money theory, right? We can take it all the way back to what is an asset. And an asset is something that generates you money, right? You are an asset. So if you, being a consultant, you could build up a reputation, get up to a $2,000 an hour rate, but you'll never be more than one asset yourself. So so it's kind of like this. Where do you invest? Time is the ultimate thing you invest, right? Not money. So if you invest time into building you as the asset, and you invest that time at $2,000 an hour, it might be worth it to you to only spin the one ball during a certain number of hours per week or whatever. It might be worth it to you. It will only scale to some degree, right? Because you can only ever have one of you. But at the same time, and this is where it gets into the kind of the real estate and what is truly passive income, right? I know, everyone who knows me knows that I take all the money I've ever made in the world and I dump it into real estate, because that's a plate that when you spin that plate, it keeps spinning. It spins for a long time, and you don't have to go back and respin that plate. Or, I mean, you got to do a little tiny bit. It's mostly passive, and that's the only truly passive thing, aside from, I did this big long email talking about, bonds and dividend, high yield dividend stocks and things like that, but inflation starts to kills them. So really, what it comes down to in my mind is this idea of what kind of assets are you going to build, and the ones that kick off the highest profit. Obviously, there's that trade-off between risk and the amount of, how much risk the asset is and how much work it is for you to keep it spinning determines what the profit margin is. And so, the profit margin on real estate is is smaller than that of building an info product. But there's the huge thing is, and this is why I'm very keen on steering you, Josh, more towards the product and the building the assets, and that I really do think there is a difference, is because the key difference here is that when you build products and assets, what ends up happening is they get a cumulative effect. There's a synergistic effect over time that doesn't exist in the consulting world, or not nearly as much, right? If Nora Roberts wrote she's got like 200 novels, right? Every single novel she gets is a bestseller now, and she's extremely leveraged her time, and it cross sells her other stuff. Right, there's a lot of instances of this. Elliot Hulse has like 15 different products that he's produced. He's got 1 million YouTube, over 1 million, right? So because he's invested into this asset building, which in your audience is an asset. Your mailing list is an asset, right? Your products that you build are an asset, but they all kind of synergistically work together. And if you can build this huge platform where you have like an audience of several million people or whatever it is, then you've built something that scales infinitely higher than any consulting that you could do. You might still do consulting. Like I would, in Perry Marshall's case, I would guess that he makes more money not doing the consulting, but he does it because he wants to, because that's part of his name, because he enjoys doing that. But as far as a purely looking at the finances and where can you, passive income is when you've got runway, right? It's like it basically comes to the fact of if you have something that's throwing off money and it's going to last longer than you do, then you might as well. Then it doesn't matter because it's essentially passive. And so that's kind of the thing is like if you're focusing on building something that lasts, right? The hours that you spend in consulting, yes, they may be more profitable than hours that you spend at this point on a product, but if you chart it down 10 years down the road, right, more than likely building the products and assets and building the audience around them is going to be more profitable in the long run and more scalable and give you more flexibility. And you could go into consulting from that if you want to, but going just the consultant route, and I'm only saying this because that's where I started out, was doing that and then realizing, oops, that was the wrong path. But if you just go down that road, you don't have nearly as much flexibility, you don't have nearly as much scalability, and you can't spin 5 plates at the same time.
No, but I think that's actually the problem. I don't want to spin 5 plates. I've been doing that with products. Products are spinning, and you have to. Products, you end up dividing your time, right? Nathan Barry's found this with his stuff. He's selling off his stuff because he can't keep all that stuff going. He can't keep updating.
Part of the problem that you have with your existing products is that it's fragmented. I have the same problem between Watch Me Code, blogging, and Signal Leaf.
Well, no, my Sublime stuff isn't fragmented. I mean,
it is now with you wanting to get into marketing more.
Right.
So
right.
if you were Wes Boss, your Sublime stuff would be doing awesome because Wes Boss is all focused on Sublime. And
but I did do that for 2 years and it did not go anywhere, and
you decided to get out of it.
But it's not 2 years. It's like 5, 10 years.
No, but it's not going to be. But
exactly.
Look at TextMate. Look at TextMate. TextMate is dead. I mean, and that's going to be the case with virtually any technology.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly any
it's going to be the case with everything that you're doing in marketing today as well. Things change.
But that's not true. I mean, with marketing stuff, the tactics change, but the principles haven't changed in millennia.
There's certain things that are going to be more evergreen.
Software is so. I think software. There's a lot less evergreen stuff in software than there is in some other fields.
Well, okay. Steve McConnell wrote Code Complete when
1992 or something.
Okay, it's still.
Yeah, but how many? You can name the number of books like that on 2 hands.
You can, exactly. But these well, okay, and this is the other point. This is the really big point. This is the one why I would say more than anything else, do not, I mean, do some consulting, but go the product route, go the asset route, and this is why, because you can hit a home run with a product, and you can't hit a home run with consulting. You're never going to show up at a consulting gig charging, you know, $200 or $300 an hour, and your client's going to say, you know what, you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, buddy. Because tell you what, I'm gonna pay $5,000 an hour today. You know, it's never ever going to happen, right?
See, as a copywriter, if I get good enough, I can negotiate percentages of returns. I can negotiate equity. Copywriters do this stuff all the time.
That's not consulting. That's building a product. You're just using someone else's label. You're white labeling it.
You're consulting.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even consulting at all at that point.
No, you're delivering a result. You're delivering a result.
You're building the product. You're a piece of the product. You are getting intellectual property ownership of that product. That is an asset. If you sell, that's a contract. Like, you could write that down, and in fact, you will have it as a contract, and you could go to the open market and you could sell that royalty. That is actually a physical, like, it is not.
Yeah, if you get equity, yeah, I agree.
If you can do that, I'm totally for that. Do that all day long. Get royalty agreements and get a collection of assets like that. Those plates will spin for a long time.
That's a lot of copywriters do that.
Well, do that
all the time. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of people so far. I haven't seen a whole lot of people who have been able to build info product businesses that are still going and continuing to make, like, to me, an asset is something that increases with value over time, and info products start to lose. I mean, John, you're not investing money in ebooks, right? You're buying real estate.
Yes, exactly, and that's the whole point. Is assets decrease in value over time, but they throw off money at different rates, right?
Well, so I don't know. To me, that's not really an asset worth pursuing. I'd rather.
Then you'll never pursue anything, because literally every asset will decline in value over time, unless you're talking about precious gemstones.
Well, I mean, real estate appreciates, though.
No, it doesn't.
To a certain point.
Actually, real estate does not appreciate. This is a fallacy, right? And believe me, going through this, I assumed that real estate appreciates. What real estate does is it keeps toe to toe with inflation, and sometimes it goes higher and sometimes it goes lower, but it always levels back to inflation. The real estate value itself, I don't want to say it doesn't appreciate at all, but it barely does, right?
So the rental value is the only.
But it also depends on so many other factors, like the neighborhood and the building itself and the quality and upkeep, and there's a million things that go into. Okay, it might appreciate, for the next 10 years. The house that I'm sitting in right now, is probably appreciating right now. But I'm looking around at the neighborhood, and I'm seeing, okay, 3 blocks this way, okay, 4 blocks that way, okay, 2 blocks that way. In 20 years, this house might not be worth what it is now, because I see now where the city is moving and how things are changing already. It's 20 years. Who knows? It may be worth as much, but my guess is that this specific place that I'm in is going to be subjected to the growing infrastructure and city of the place that I live, and I won't be here in 20 years because this house won't be as good of a neighborhood in 20 years.
So what I'm hearing is buy gold.
Well, no, that's not it doesn't generate money by itself. Real estate does. And the thing is, okay, real estate is a hedge against inflation, right? This is the thing, is that if it inflates, the rent prices go up, your mortgage actually goes down over time. You can make money off of the bank's money, by using leverage there. It's good for all, like, a whole list of opportunities. But the biggest thing for me is that it's a place where I can put money that I have a pretty much guaranteed return that will never stop returning. I have to invest a little bit back into it to do repairs and things like that, but it still nets above that, right? And it's something where you don't have to keep spinning that plate. You could actually sit back on the beach and collect the thing. But here's the thing. You could also say Pluralsight sort of is that because of how much money it generated, right? And that's, even though I'm dumping the Pluralsight money into the real estate, right? But that's the thing, is like the Pluralsight was a home run for me, right? I did not anticipate to make as much money as I did off of that, and I'll still generate a ridiculous amount of money off of that. But I had to be at bat a lot of times in order to be able to get
55 times.
Yeah, exactly. Because even within it, the courses had to be, only a few courses generated that super income for me. So that's why, like,
here's one thing about the Pluralsight thing is that it's not really comparable to what most people are trying to do, because you weren't responsible. You're helping to build somebody else's machine, right? So you weren't having to market 55 courses. You could never have gotten anywhere with that.
But it was still an asset, right? I'm not saying
it wouldn't have been an asset if you couldn't market it. If you didn't have Pluralsight's audience and marketing clout already in place, you would have wasted all that time.
Right, but
it would not have been an asset.
But it did exist as an asset. Right. You see, when they offered me the thing,
you guys are telling me to stop, watch me code.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. I wasn't consulting. That's the thing. It's like whether I was building an asset that was wholly 100% mine or partially someone else's, a royalty, like you're just saying with the copywriting, it doesn't matter. The key thing was it was something that had the potential to throw off more money than what was agreed upon, than the hourly rate. And that's the problem. That's why consulting to some degree is a dead end, is because it never outperforms what was agreed upon. Like when you look at the different levels, right? As a career developer, if you get paid at a job, you have a hard cap. You're making $80,000 a year. Maybe you have a bonus, but essentially, you can only bank on that. As a consultant, the cap is raised, right? You could have a higher hourly rate, you could do more hours, right? But as an entrepreneur building a product, it's infinite. You could make Snapchat or Facebook. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to hit home runs, and if you keep putting the bat, then you're more likely to hit that home run.
But I want to point out that 5 minutes ago, you guys agreed that Josh getting royalties and equity in his copywriting is an asset for Josh to build, and that's a place where Josh can and should focus his product building. Do the consulting to get in there, but make sure you're getting those product. I
want to get a piece of the action.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely, because the group that I work for at my client, we have time and time again taken proposals to this company and said, look, you're about to spend $50 million on product X. We'll do it for $10 million, which is literally just time and materials, plus 1% of the return every year. And this company has time and time again said, no thanks, we don't want to do that. You guys just keep doing what you're already doing for your hourly rate. If any one of these things had come to fruition and the company had agreed to that 1% on return, then all of these guys would be multimillionaires by now, because these guys save this company hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Right.
So that's where your focus really needs to be, is get in there with the consulting and do the hourly work, but get those royalties, get that product built into the system where you're getting return on it.
Well, one other thing I want to just jump in here with is, whether you're doing hourly consulting, at the high rate, in which case they're only going to hire you for a few hours or a day at a time.
Yeah,
I mean, ultimately, that is a product, right? They're going to hire you to come in and solve a problem for them, and essentially the idea is it's cheaper to hire you to come in and train somebody or to come in and solve this copywriting problem as opposed to paying for the training for somebody else in one case, or, paying you to do it over and over and over again.
Right, which is pricing leverage. Because if you're being paid to come in and do the work, that's contracting $150 an hour. If you're being paid to come in and teach someone else how to do the work, you are by definition consulting your way out of a job. So you need to price for that. If 3 to 5 times higher than your hourly rate for contracting minimum, because that once you're done with this training, they're not going to need you anymore, or at least not as often.
The big thing for me becomes, and again, this comes down to like kind of a very basic, like what Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like, not that I, agree with everything in the book, but one very clear principle he said is the difference between a business and an investor. And that's the thing, and I think that's really the key clear point is a business. You can be or being self-employed and owning a business and then being an investor, right? So self-employed is if you remove yourself from the equation, the money stops.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And that's the raw consulting, right?
Right.
A business owner could hire someone else to manage the business. So, even in the product business, like let's say info products, right? I could totally build 5 info products and then hire someone to take it over and do everything, all the plate spinning, and I could sit on the beach and just get status reports from them. I won't make as much money, right? But I'll be totally passive. But as an investor, then there's not even that component. You are, the people that make the real money are the people who have cleared enough money to be able to invest in startups and invest in 20 seed money in 20 different startups and one of them goes off, and that's, or they have, or better yet, it's not even those people, it's the people behind the people, right? It's the business, what do you call it, bank in, I can't remember the name.
Venture capital, or
well, it's VCs and investment bankers, right? That are taking some rich, old guy's money, right? And he's doing nothing at all, and they're just figuring out what deals to do and just making him ridiculous returns on it and taking a little bit off of the top. So I mean, that's where it's like you want to be on that other end of it as much as possible, and that's why it's like, if you're consulting, you're kind of more towards the left side of it, and you want to move more so towards the right.
Well, I think so. I guess the way I'm thinking about it is like I think I agree with you. Like what I think a lot of people do is they only do consulting type of work or salaried work, and then they live paycheck to paycheck and hand to mouth. But my thing is like I think I can ramp up consulting income a lot faster than I could if I tried to build a product business.
Yes.
Like it would take me 5 to 10 years probably to build a product business. If I front load the consulting and just start socking that money away, which is what I would do, which is what I will do, and then as I have
on top
time,
of that, the consulting helps you build those products. It builds the experience for those products.
Exactly. Yeah, because right now I don't have the experience or the authority really to be anybody in marketing.
See, I'm looking at this debate between Josh and John right now, really, and I'm seeing that these are just different stages of the process to get to what John is talking about.
Right. Well, that's true. Yes, that's
but here's the thing. This is the only thing. Like to take it really to practical terms. Like I'm trying to save you a bunch of time and heartache here because I have done the wrong things and I could have.
But look where you are. I don't think that you could have gotten where you are going the other way.
Oh gosh,
to do this.
If I could go back in a time machine and give myself advice when I was 20, I would be way beyond where I'm at now. I guarantee you. And one of the things that I would have done is to and this is what I would say. It's like I totally agree with you that I totally agree with you that you should ramp up the consulting to make big money now because big money now is an important thing. But there's 2 things that you need to do in addition to that. Which is one, you need to be taking that money and investing it at the very least. Like if you're going to make big money now, you need to make big returns. So you need to throw that into real estate or something that is more of the passive income that's going to grow it, and not what your typical financial advisor would have you do with it because that's not that is not the way to really grow your capital. And then 2, I would say, is at the same time you need to be building some kind of a product business, some kind of a long-term asset, entrepreneurial type of thing, whether it be writing another book or whether it be something that's going to build you up an audience. And the reason why is because what you don't want to do, and this is the key mistake that I made, is get to the end of your consulting, make a bunch of money, and then start to build something that's going to take you 5 years to build. Right? You need to be laying the bricks now. Now, you could say, and I totally agree with you when you say, John, I have to make some money. I'm not going to just start building like this working on just products and live like a pauper, off of $30,000 a year income, trying to spin all these plates for the next 5 years until I can get it going. Totally agree with you there. But regardless of if you work on products full time or you do them part time, it's still going to take 5 years to grow the thing. You can't make the tree grow any faster. You can plant more trees, but you can't make the tree grow any faster. So at least plant one tree. Right? Don't make the mistake of saying, well, once I gather all the money and then I'll buy all these trees and I have all the time, and then because then you're going to be waiting like 5 to 10 years for them to grow and sitting on this money. So I would say, like, make sure that it's a mix. Yeah, if you want to wait at 80% consulting and 20% new product development, totally do that. But don't wait at 100% consulting thinking I'm going to make all this money. And that's going to, because that's you're going to be helping yourself in the short term, but hurting yourself in the long term overall.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, the most valuable, like, I think that more than products, the audience is what's really valuable. And you can build an audience and a consulting business side by side, and the audience feeds the consulting business, and then you can kind of at the as you start to ramp down the consulting, that's when you can start to live off the audience more, and that's actually the avenue that I probably would be.
And that makes total sense. I totally agree with that, because the audience is your asset. You're choosing to cash in on that asset at any point. That's fine. As long as you're not just, because so many guys I talk to now, with Simple Programmer and emailing me and doing consult on Skype, as they're like, oh, I'm going to become a consultant. I'm going to bill this much per hour, and that's awesome. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm like, that's okay. It's good. I'm glad you're doing that, but where's the long-term thinking? Like, what are you actually building? Like, at the end of the day, you need to show that you put another brick in your wall, not that you just, broke even and got money. Like, getting money.
I'm singing Pink Floyd, thanks.
What's that?
Now I'm singing Pink Floyd, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
All in all, it's just another brick.
But I like to know that every single day that I've made my empire a little bigger, rather than I just got some more money. And that I'm telling you, because since I was 18, I started thinking about how was I going to retire, and I was thinking wrong, because I was like, well, I'm just going to make as much money as I can and dump it into real estate, which was, in some ways the right thinking, but it's a 30-year path. Whereas if I would have said, well, if I started building a blog or building an audience like right from the get-go, like I'd be 15, 20 years into it, man, I'd be in a much better position, even if I couldn't work on that full time. So that's the only thing.
You'd have that CompuServe blog of yours would just be crushed out right now.
Totally.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think we probably violently agree more than we.
I think so.
One other thing that does occur to me is, let's say that John gets the rights back from Manning for soft skills here in 5 or 10 years, right? And so in 5 or 10 years, he turns around and he decides that he's going to relaunch it, or maybe write a second edition. I mean, he's done most of the research, so he can do a little bit of work updating it, and then turn it over to somebody else to actually go and market it, and just give them a percentage of the money. And his hope is that they get filthy rich, because when they get filthy rich, he gets filthy richer.
Right. Yeah, and I think soft skills, I think that book is pretty evergreen, and that is something that you could update and sell for 30 or 40 years. I just think that those, the tricky thing about that is that you had to get to where you are now before you could write that book. You couldn't have written that book 20 years ago.
Right.
No, I couldn't.
And the way that you got there was through all your experience and your consulting. To get to that level of being able to write something that will endure, or create something that will endure, you really need a lot of experience in a field.
But the more YouTube videos I have out there, the more blog posts I have out there, those are assets that last a long. They last longer than it takes me to produce them, and that's the key. So I'm burning the candle, but the candle is growing faster than I'm burning it. So. And that's the difference. To me, straight consulting is you're burning the candle and the candle's replenishing it. So I don't know why candles replenish themselves, but
This analogy is just melting right out.
Yeah.
Right, but it melts at a minute per minute, and it replenishes at a minute per minute.
Exactly. And whereas, I guess the plate spinning was probably a better analogy, but in this world where candles replenish themselves magically, the product, the long-term things, building blog posts, building YouTube videos, doing things like that might not even pay anything right now. Those last much. They actually make the candle longer, so you get this really long candle.
Yeah. I think one other thing that came up in the email was just that, some people put out products that don't necessarily pay off money-wise compared to the rate they could get.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that occurs to me is, I don't know how much money John could make per hour versus what he's getting paid for Soft Skills, the book. But, let's assume that he's getting a pretty anemic royalty. It may be good for the industry, but, most book authors I talk to, it's like, I made, a few $1,000s on it. Mm-hmm. But the thing is the next time John puts a book out, the people who spent $30 on his book and got, career advice that made them $20,000 more a year, the next thing he puts out that's anything close to related to that, they're instantly going to buy and they're going to tell all their friends to go do it too. And so you're getting more out of your product than just the money. You get that stepping stone to the next thing because it's worth the value exchange in the first place, so it's worth the value exchange for the next thing.
Right.
Yeah, but you still have to. It all still comes down to like, are you making money back out of that? And most people that I see doing this aren't.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I want to just put out there is that once I'm making enough money to pay all my bills, put money away for retirement, and basically make my family comfortable. Whether I'm making $1 million extra dollars or $100,000 extra dollars or $5,000 extra dollars, I'm not really going to care a lot at that point as long as I'm able to take care of everything else. Because ultimately the quality of life is more important to me than that. So as long as it's making enough, then I'm not sure I'm really concerned about it being more or less productive than something else.
I'm concerned about it because my main concern is my lifestyle. I want to have more discretionary time.
Right.
So for me, if I could do something for 20 hours a week, even if I have to keep doing it, then that to me is like, I don't know. I'd rather do that than work 60 hours a week on something that is going to be the next Facebook or Google or be a home run. I don't care. I honestly don't care. I want to make certain amount of money. I want to be
baseball games are not won with home runs. They're won by single base hits.
Yeah, I just want to. I don't want to be spinning plates. I want to have a more laid back lifestyle. Really, that's what I want right now.
But I mean, the other thing to consider is that if you're working 60-hour weeks now for a few months, and then it can make it so you only have to work 10 hours a week for the next 3 years.
I just don't see that happening for a lot of people.
It can. I mean, I don't know. It's not as far away as. I mean, we ran the numbers on the list, and like I said, if you have $500,000 and you invest it wisely in real estate, you can make a $30,000 a year income, which is enough to live. Which I mean, you can supplement that income, but
I meant with products, like with info products.
I mean, even with but I mean, you could just take the info product, like my How to Market Yourself as a Software Developer course. Right. Yes, last year I launched it in March and I made $85,000 off of it.
Right.
But I had built
up. I would like to, if you don't want to do this on the air, I would like to do this off the list. Would be to figure out. I'd actually like to run the numbers on it.
And figure out how many hours and time.
Yeah, get an idea of how much time you've put into it versus how much you've actually gotten out of it so far. And that course, I actually do think you're gonna make money on that for sure over what you would have done consulting.
But see, the thing, you have to also back it up and say, well, I had to build an audience, so that means I had to do a lot of blog posts over 5 years and
very true.
A lot of other things. So but the Pluralsight audience helped too. So there's
it's hard to tease it all apart.
Yeah. The last concept, though, is also like the difference between you can only work so many hours in a week or get
right.
But when you're working on your own stuff, sometimes people make this crazy thing and they say, well, I'm not gonna not to go backwards on the mowing your lawn thing, but I'm not going to mow my lawn because I make $100 an hour, so it's worth paying someone else to do it. Well, but you can't right now while it's Saturday and the lawn is growing, you don't have the ability to make the 100. Right? Because your boss won't pay you it right now. If you can't go into work and get the $100 an hour, you know.
Right.
So, and again, I'm not trying to say don't hire someone to mow your lawn. Definitely do that because it's still worth your time. But spend that time working on something that makes you that money, and usually that's going to be a product in that case, right? I don't know. It's just there's a huge number of factors I think involved in it, and you can't really ever take it and say, well, this is worth this many hours of work that it came to. This is my hourly rate working on this product.
Yeah. One other thing that I want to jump in on a little bit is failed products, and I know we all have to go, but most products fail because people have bad or insufficient information. So they have enough information to see that somebody might buy it, but they don't have enough information to see that they're only talking to the 3 people that would buy it, or they go in and they build a product and then they go look for a market to put it in. And I think if you really understand your market and you have an audience of people who are willing to hand over money for what you put out there, then your products will succeed. And so it's more than just products versus consulting. It's how do you want to leverage your time, and where are you putting your effort so that you can understand where things are going to pay off. Because some markets are going to want consultants. They're not going to want products. And some markets are going to want products because they just want to plug something into their system. So, you really have to go out there and talk to people and understand what you're working on, and then see it pay off later on.
Agreed.
And with that, I think we should end.
Okay.
Well, bam.
Bam.
Well, I think we'll get a lot of interesting debate from people on this.
I think so too. And there's a whole lot more conversation we could have about this. So.
Yes.
Oh yeah, tons. So.
We could pick this fight another week.
Yeah.
We really should. We should follow up here in a month or two, and then see what you decided and what the factors really were that made you go, yeah, well, this was definitely a win, and this definitely wasn't.
Yeah, and we could run some real numbers too.
I'd like to do real numbers. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Go give us a good review on iTunes.
Yep. Yeah. So Derek will sing.
Boxclub.com.
10 reviews, and I will sing "Let It Go."
And 50, and we'll all sing it. So I don't think we'll get 50, but we'll see.
We'll get 50.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you guys next week.
Yes.
Bye.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to the EntreProgrammers, and we'll teach you straight up to be developers.